County Conservation Board presents Eveland Access Summerfest Music by the River 2024, June 1st from noon to 10 p.m., featuring 8 musical artists with live music, activities like bingo, sand volleyball, and cornhole, food, and much, much more. It's a free event at the Eveland Access Campgrounds at 2890 Galveston Avenue, Oskaloosa. Bring a friend and have a lot of fun at the Eveland Access Summerfest 2024 Music by the River. June 1st from noon to 10 at the Eveland Access Campgrounds. Welcome in. Why am I not hearing myself? I don't know. Hello, 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 hello. I don't know what's going on, but my microphone is not working. Welcome to Tuesday Night Tune-Up here on Steve Shuttler Media. Let's just take it right away up to Safe Grafke, our host with the most. Safe, what's going on?
Hey, race fans, welcome back to TNT, the Tuesday Night Tune-Up. We are so glad you could all join us here tonight. We have a lot of great results to go through here. We have a lot of good, exciting things going on. And we have a special guest with us tonight, all the way from Knoxville, Iowa, Jonathan Hughes with Jonathan Hughes Motorsports. We'll get back to that, some results, and others here right here in just a few minutes on TND, Tuesday Night Tune-Up. Steve, take it away.
All righty, thank you, Safe. Boy, for some reason my microphone is not working. So, Safe, we're actually going to keep it right with you.
Perfect.
Nope,
that's fine.
We'll work on some technical issues while you do your thing.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be a real live stream if we didn't have some kind of technical issue here. So we're really excited here tonight. This young man has just started his season running with the high-limit sprint cars. We've seen him at Oskaloosa in the past in the Albia Napa non-wing sprint car class. We've seen him racing at Knoxville. We are so excited here. Make some noise, race fans, for Jonathan Hughes. Jonathan, thanks for joining us here tonight, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So, Jonathan, you come from a really long and rich tradition of racing in your family. Why don't you take us back a little bit in time where your family's been with racing, where you are now?
Well, Grandpa started it all. He just got inducted to the Hall of Fame at Oski, Jake Hughes. And that's all where it started. And then it led through with Dean, Jim, and then Mike. Everybody knows Mike that run hobby stocks and modifieds out there. And then my dad, Jay. Then obviously once he got done racing, then I took over. And after me, then it'll be my boy Brex. So it'll be a long chain, to put it that way. But we're pretty successful as a family, I see. And hopefully it grows and continues.
Absolutely, and you know, it's really cool, like you said, your grandpa getting inducted into the Hall of Fame at the Southern Iowa Speedway. What does that mean to you, and how does that feel to be part of a family where, you know, you have family members getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, and again, your Uncle Mike, probably arguably one of the best stock car racers, modified racers we've had in this part of Iowa. What's that like to be part of that family?
It's phenomenal. It's great. The support behind it is amazing from a lot of the Oski, from fans to people in the pit area and stuff that talk about it. I'm crossing my fingers I can get on that ballot someday and be with them also, because I know it's going to be Mike and then it'll be me after that. I'd like to have all of us in there just because of Jake, but we'll just kind of see how the future goes and go from there.
Absolutely. And now you've been running some non-wing stuff, some wing cars here for a while. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you just had your first race of the season, got the car ready to go, and you went down to the high limits race at 34 at Burlington. Why don't you tell us what that experience is like running in the 410 class down there with the high limit boys?
The high limit guys, it's a very difficult series to run. As you see, it's the best of the business. I say it's better than the World Outlaws. But the people that are with it are absolutely phenomenal. And you go to a lot of racetrack series, and they come up to you, they ask your name, obviously race number, where you're from, and your sponsors. And these guys, they sit there and had a normal life conversation for 20, 25 minutes inside the trailer, let alone. And then they just moved on with their day or their night and went from there.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this is a really big topic right now, and it's sparked a lot of controversy and stuff. Is, you know, in the golf world, we had the Live Golf Tour versus the PGA Tour. Now in the sprint car world, we have the Outlaws kind of versus the High Limit series. In your mind, like you said, High Limit you think is better than the Outlaws. Why don't you tell us a little more on why you think that is? The caliber of the drivers, or I mean, what do you see as a driver?
That's a lot of it is the caliber of the drivers in there. Obviously, in that series, I mean, you got Macri that runs it here and there. I mean, you got Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson. I mean, those are two of the best in the business. To race against each and every week with the High Limit, the Outlaws are. It's just. I haven't run with them enough, but I just know with the few times I have, it's just been kind of a bad feeling, I guess. I don't know if it's just because of our results or what I feel. I mean, that's my opinion about it, but I'm all high. If I get some corporate money, obviously sponsors, to run High Limit full time, I would, in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like you said, it seems like that has a lot of motion because, like you said, you had Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson, Brent Marks, just a lot of really good drivers on that. So, in your opinion and what you're seeing in the trend of dirt track racing, especially on the sprint car side, do you think that's where we're going to see a big shift, possibly even next year, or more guys coming to the High Limit series and away from the Outlaws? Or
I see a lot of it, and a lot of the lower budgeted Outlaw teams and stuff will make the shift because it's a lot of short track racing, where a lot of the Outlaw Tour you see a lot. I mean, short track, big tracks, and they flip a lot, but you got to have big motors for big tracks. And where a lot of these smaller guys, they have 3 or 4 motors, and they can't do that. They can't compete with gravel. They can't compete with shots and stuff. Where the short tracks, they could be competitive with 3 or 4 motors.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's kind of been a big topic as well this year is, there's not a shortage of engines, but there's kind of a shortage of parts. So you being a driver, you running 410s, how important is it for you to really take care of the equipment, maybe a little more so than in years past? I mean, what are you seeing on your end there?
Yeah, you definitely got to go through the motors with a fine-tooth comb with the way engine pieces are, because it used to be where you would wait 3-4 months for a motor to get rebuilt, where now you're probably closer to 6 to 8. So it's the same way with parts. It used to be where you can get rear ends built back to the shop very quickly, steering racks same way. Unfortunately, it's easier to just get new ones here because they just come faster.
Yeah, and so you've talked about the past generation in your family. Now we're in the present, looking toward the future. How cool is it for you to know that someday you're going to be able to pass racing down to your son? I mean, what's that look like?
It'll definitely be different and stuff because my racing will slow down tremendously just so I could see him succeed on the side of it, because my dad did the same thing for me, and then hopefully someday he takes over my side of the stuff, where like right now I'm taking care of the cars, taking care of basically the equipment, and see him progress through that and then kind of go on his own hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you just had the race at 34. That's probably one of my favorite short tracks here in Iowa. Why don't you take us through and just talk about what the whole experience was like running that night, track conditions, everything like that, how you saw it in your eyes?
Our night as a team, it was obviously a very good learning curve. We learned a ton with our race car going into 2024 season. But racetrack-wise, very, very difficult. It was super slick right after qualifying. It widened out very quickly. Just still very racy. And then We had a mishap and two mishaps in the B, which I kind of what my dad and I call aborted the mission, put it that way. So we didn't end up tearing our car up for this week's race and stuff because chassis are once again very hard to get and stuff in a timely manner. And so we withdrawed from the B and obviously sat and watched the feature. And it was a very good race. Brad and James McFadden put on a heck of a show. And that's probably one of the best races I've seen all year.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was a barn runner all the way to the end between those two. So, looking into the rest of the year, where all can we find Jonathan Hughes racing at this year?
As of right now, we're just kind of hitting and missing races that are close, so my boy can get the experience of being at the racetrack, seeing all the cars and stuff. Then, but we are planning on, like this weekend, we got Donaldson with the Power Eye, and we are up in the air if we're going to go to Kansas City at I-70 that Saturday. But if not, then we probably plan on being at Knoxville due to sponsorship commitments that I've made. And then next week I will have to look at the schedule because I don't really look that far.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you ran at Oski in the non-wing class. Now you're running wing sprint cars. What are some of the things that you might have been able to take away from the non-wing? I mean, obviously they drive a lot different because you don't have that downforce on the top of the car or anything like that. Is there anything that has kind of maybe helped you at all, or?
The non-wing side is honestly, I've had some really bad driver errors, put it that way, because the non-wing stuff to driving the wing stuff, you got to be very adaptable as a driver. And I'm trying to get back in the swing because I'm used to elbows up, getting after it pretty good. And where the wing stuff, you got to go-kart it, tuck the elbows, be very smooth. And so I'm trying to get back to that, and I might need to go up to Des Moines to run some more go-karts indoors to have some fun, and maybe I'll be smoother but in the race car. But it just, once again, it's lapse time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like we talked earlier about budgets and stuff like that and sponsorships, who all do you want to thank for helping out on the 67 car this year and helping you guys go?
Well, we just had a new one come on, Smith's Fertilizer and Grain. Couldn't ask for a better company to work for and to have on a race car. They're very flexible, and I kind of leaves me speechless with them because they're just a great family to be with. And then my mom and dad, they bend over backwards to do everything they can for me in the racing world for me. And then obviously my wife putting up with me and all the racing stuff and with the kids and so on and there forth. She's been amazing with that because I know how much of a headache the boy and the daughter could be. So kind of happy with how flexible she is with me.
Absolutely. Well, Jonathan, we want to thank you for coming on tonight and doing this interview with us. We want to wish you the best of luck the rest of this race year and seasons coming. Again, congratulations to your grandpa, Jake, to getting inducted into the Southern Iowa Speedway Hall of Fame.
I appreciate it.
All righty. It looks like, Steve, we got your mic back working over there.
It is working. We'll take a look at some of our sponsors.
Absolutely.
And again, we thank Jonathan Hughes for hanging out this evening here on the Tuesday Night Tune-Up. We do thank all of our sponsors for making our broadcast possible. That includes Milo's Tree Service. We also thank Sinclair Napa, as well as Van Donsler Automotive. We go over to Sigourney for Sigourney Body Shop. Plus, we thank Sigourney Motors, along with Sigourney Tree Care. We've got Christy Tarr with American Family Insurance. And then new this week is James Family Greenhouse and Produce in Sigourney, Iowa. So a lot of folks supporting this show, and they make it possible to bring us our broadcast here on Steve Shuttler Media. Let's go back to Safe Grafke, who is standing by. Safe.
All righty. Welcome back, race fans, to TNT, the Tuesday Night Tune-Up. And
Safe, I think you got a co-host for the night here.
Do you want to stay in co-host, Jonathan?
Might as well.
Okay, there we go.
Nice.
Even better. Yeah. Unplanned. I like it.
Yeah.
We're going to dive right into results.
Awesome.
And I even wrote them down. So that. How about
amazing.
this? Since you were at the high limit race, I'll let you go through the results I wrote down for the high limit.
Awesome. Sweet.
This makes it easier for me tonight. Yeah.
I like making life easy. So, as you know, with High Limit, Brad Sweet ended up doing a three-peat at 34 by winning by 12 thousandths of a second to James McFadden. And
you got to be there.
I did.
So, were you on the backstretch watching that, or?
Unfortunately, I was, so I didn't really get to see, but because of the nice front stretch fence. But
I forgot they have that fence up.
Yeah, right in the center racetrack.
That's right.
Yep. So, yeah. Then obviously James McFadden finished in second, but with the last race was at Kokomo, which that was a very fun race to watch with Tyler Courtney winning, with Buddy Kofoid running second, I believe.
Yes.
So third, I do not remember. Do you?
No, I honestly don't. I'll be honest.
Nobody remembers who runs second or third anymore. It's all about the winner, right?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, that kind of seems like the way that it is anymore.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, and then if we look at the points, Brad Sweet still on top in the points there, which he wasn't at one point.
No. Corey was.
You know what, folks? 2 weeks in a row, we have a heckler in here. Named Neil. I don't know why we keep allowing this to happen, honestly. I mean, we are going to have to get security.
Yes, Smoky Rose security, definitely.
Yeah, the Rose security. So when we look at points, Brad Sweet's still on top there. I mean, he's been so dominant now, and that's the only reason I think he's been able to retain that, because Sunshine was on top of points up until 3 weeks ago, and then Brad started winning every night, which is what Brad Sweet does, though. I mean, he's so dominant.
He's very consistent wherever he goes, but I think that has to play with back in the day, if you want to call it that, with the World Outlaw Tour being very adaptable, and that's what them guys are best at.
So, and you might know a little more about how the High Limits works than I do, since you just raced with them too, which helps out. Outlaws rely really heavily on time trials for your points and everything. High Limits the same way, or are they structured a little different? Do you know at all?
A little bit. There's some very similar deals with that. Obviously, qualifying, if you do qualify good, it obviously benefits you in the heat race.
Right.
But you do have potential in the heat race, too. So, because, just say at 34 Raceway, they started 12 cars in a heat race. And as long as you got to the top 5, that you transferred through and made the show. So and then obviously the top 2 went to the dash.
Right.
And then to make the last 2 starting spots, because I believe they did 8 cars that night, but I do not remember. They take the fastest qualifier out of the heat races, so the person that puts down basically the fastest lap throughout the heat races goes in. And honestly, last guy, they were saying it so fast there, I don't even remember, but it was a very interesting how they did the dash, because they obviously had the first 6 and then go from there. But
that is interesting. I like that, though, because again, I think that was a lot of the problem, and I think it still is the problem with the World Outlaw Sprint Car Tour, is basically you could win time trials every week and be set. You never have to win a feature, you have to win a heat race, you don't have to do anything else than qualify good.
Yep.
And I have, just for the life of me, I find that so hard to understand on why everyone relies so heavily on qualifying. So it's a nice, and again, yeah, I think that's why a lot of guys are switching to High Limits. But
it all goes back to what we talked about earlier with budgeting and motors. So and a lot of guys don't have. I mean, on the Outlaw Tour, David Gravel's got probably one of the best motors I've seen run and stuff.
Yeah.
That have tremendous horsepower. And it's hard to compete with guys like that each and every week when you obviously are on the lower of the totem pole.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah, Brad Sweet first in points, Sunshine in second. Brent Marks has found his way up into third in points. Corey Day still holding on to the top 5. He's in fourth. And then Spencer Baston was fifth in points there for a while. He's now lost that to Rico Abreu. And Rico, hasn't made a whole lot of noise, but again, he's one of those guys where he's starting to get really consistent and he's starting to crawl towards the top every week, kind of a top 4 car. So, I mean,
Yep.
finding his way up in the points battle.
Yeah, Rico will start making his climb up very quickly. Ricky Warner, this is his time to start shining on that race car and stuff. When it gets really hot, really slick, that's when them boys really shine.
Absolutely, and they race Thursday at Outlaw Raceway. You can find that race on Flow Racing if you want to tune into that. So that should be a heck of a race there. I don't think the Outlaws have ever been there.
No.
At least that I know of and I've ever watched. So that should be a good race Thursday night. And we'll now go to the counterpart in the Sprint Car Series, World Outlaw Sprint Cars. They just had their first race finally against the Pennsylvania Posse. They had the Gettysburg Clash at Lincoln Speedway out in Pennsylvania. And shocker to everyone, David Gravel pulls another victory out. So far, he is leading the points now by like 93, I think, or something like that. So, big points gap there for David Gravel. And actually, really the whole top five is all Outlaw guys except for Anthony Macri, who came home fourth. In front of him, you had Selzy in second, Carson Macedo finally getting into the top three, and then Donnie Schatz was fifth. So, great race there. The Posse didn't really have anyone contending in the top three, which is really weird. You know, Danny Dietrich's having kind of an off year, which is really weird. That's kind of his bread and butter is anytime the Outlaws come, that guy always seems to be elbows up, and him and Gary Kaufman seem to really be on the ball, but not so much. I don't know what's going on there with that team. They've had a really bad year.
Yeah, it could be equipment, it could be motors, it could be budgeting. Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just so weird right now. I mean, it's like the whole racing world and the sprint cars, it's so divided right now, and it's just so weird. I mean, I've never seen anything like this.
Me either.
Which is funny because it's like we always had the All-Stars, but they got along just fine with the Outlaw guys, everything, probably because Tony Stewart owned it, and since he owned Schatz' car, and they were happy Schatz was on there, but now that Brad Sweet owns a series and he's running his own I don't know. It's just a weird time to be involved in sprint car racing, it seems.
Yeah, and it probably won't get any better, but you just never know.
No, you really don't. So, again, points as far as the Outlaws go, Gravel, Schatz, Selzy, Macedo, and Schuhart. Really not surprised there by any of that, just because those are really all that's kind of left of the last 6 years of Outlaw drivers, 7 years, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just really weird. I really don't know what to say about it anymore. It's just, it seems like it gets brought up every week. It seems to get brought up on social media all the time, even at tracks. You talk to drivers, you have Gravel I think he's going to get pissed here pretty soon. Sorry, Steve. If that's bad, I'm just going to be honest here. I mean, he answers this question all the time of, is this only happening because Brad Sweet isn't around anymore? The thing is, again, honestly, I like David Gravel a lot. He's a great guy, and I don't want this to get taken out of context, but it kind of seems like since Sweet and all those other guys left, it's kind of easy pickings, if I'm wrong. I mean, you only really have 2 other guys, maybe 3 other guys, a lot of money, and they're literally the top 4 in points.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you knocked off over half of them when we had the whole high limit thing come out. So, what do you think, Jonathan? I want to hear your opinion on this.
I kind of agree with that. It kind of is easy pickings a little bit with Brad leaving and running his own series, and then you got Brent Marks. I think he was a very big contender with the World Outlaws with winning points. And, I mean, there's a Rico. He's another one right there, too. And Outlaws do have, like, Gio, Macedo, and then Schatz. You can never count that guy out, that's for sure. That are guys to beat each and every night. And with the points, how they do the points and stuff, it's going to be extremely difficult with these racetracks that are coming up next with the Outlaw Tour to beat Gravel, because them guys are so adaptable, so good. But all it takes is one hiccup, and the points lead just comes down to a few.
Yeah, I mean, as far as if you look on paper right now and everything, David Gravel probably should win the points championship this year. I'm assuming. I think Schatz is going to have a strong chance at second. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if Phil Dietz gets that 41 car and Carson Macedo up and going and they start contending for the top. But, I mean, just the way it's looked, I think Big Game Motorsports is going to come with David Gravel and take home probably, I assume, the points for driver and the points for owner this year. But I mean, we still are kind of early into the season. We're not quite halfway yet, but it just seems that way.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd say it's still up for grabs completely in the high limits deal. I mean, yeah, Brad's won 3 in a row, but I mean, man.
I mean, look at the first 2 races. I mean, Corey Day was leading the points by, I mean, it was a very small margin. I think it was 10 or 13 points.
Yeah.
That was the second race in, and then he's had his very rough last few races, and look where he's at now. He's running 4th in points.
That's what I like about how they have their points set up, is anyone can take it at any moment. Doesn't matter how many races you've really won there. It is so more competitive, and I just love that aspect. I love what Brad has done, what Kyle's done with that series. I know at first they took a lot of heat. There were a lot of issues with the whole Swindell situation with them and Abreu, and then that all got fixed, and then they had to switch their points thing up, and then they bought the All-Stars, and it seems like that is becoming very well-oiled as far as a traveling sprint car series goes. I mean, the amount of traction is crazy.
It's amazing what a series can do in a few, just say here the next few years what that thing will be and stuff. Will there be an Outlaw Tour like there is now? I mean, will the high limit just take that completely over, and which that will be, well, yeah, here before we know it. I mean, we'll be going into 2025 race season and seeing all the schedule and driver changes, but that'll be very interesting to see.
Absolutely. And this is a big week as well for Kyle Larson. Indy 500. He had his practice today. Definitely not how they planned. I think he got like 20 laps in, maybe, in practice, and he was like 27th in practice, and then it started raining, so he couldn't finish his session. So, young money at Indy 500. Is he going to make the grid? Do you think he's going to make the grid?
I think so. With going into tomorrow, let the track kind of do its deal and stuff with the pavement and stuff, and I think he'll have a better shot. Them guys, with it, when he was doing his testing, he looked very smooth. He had a lot of speed. The rain may have thrown him off because he's never been in that condition before. So I say today was just kind of one of them days he just felt the car out, made sure everything was good, and then they're going to go to town tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what happens there with Kyle Larson this week. Also, last week, this is my favorite weekend in NASCAR, and I talk about this one. I mean, I'll talk about it when it's in Iowa because that's a really big deal, but the big one for me is always Darlington. It's my favorite race because it's the throwback race. We had a lot of great throwback cars this year, and what a race that turned into in the last 100 laps, because out of that last stage, it was drama from the beginning of the third stage all the way to the end. Brad Keselowski ends up coming out with the win. Ty Gibbs second, Josh Berry third, which is great to see for Josh and that team. Kind of a younger guy making his name into the NASCAR world, so coming home third, that's a really big deal for him and his confidence. So good job to Josh there. Denny Hamlin fourth, and Chase Briscoe comes home fifth. So a solid weekend if you are any NASCAR fan, because it ended up being a great race. In NASCAR, they've been struggling a lot with this new gen car. A lot of people hate it. I thought that was the best race that I've seen with these new gen cars by far.
I agree.
And I don't know what's going to end up happening with them. I kind of hope they go away from them and maybe go back to the last gen car. I don't like these new cars. I just don't think they're as competitive, honestly.
Well, what I've heard from a lot of guys is it goes back to aerodynamics. And a lot of guys are saying that they're just very squirrely in traffic. And which you could see that when you go to the restrictor plate tracks. They are they're undecisive. They don't know where they're going to go. But NASCAR, to me, NASCAR has made their changes, and they're slowly getting that car better and better. But that takes time before they could ever have a car that's 110% right.
Absolutely, I agree with that. We'll see what happens. I don't know. And then the last results I want to talk about was last week at the Southern Iowa Speedway. I don't know if you got to be there at all, watch the races.
I showed up so I could get my vote in for my grandpa and stuff. Obviously, we had family there, and we all wanted to make sure we got our votes in for grandpa. But other than that, we opted out of watching the races.
Oh, jeez.
So
are you kidding me? Well, you missed some great racing. In the Albia Napa non-wing sprint car class, AJ Johnson picked up win number 3 in a row, or 3 in a row. So kind of like what you did, multiple wins in a row right off the bat, and you're no stranger. Like I said, you're no stranger to that. That's kind of how it seemed to go for you there. So AJ had to work for that one. He had to start towards the rear of it, and just got his way to the front there. Had to get around the Colfax Comet, and he had to get around Doug Sylvester there. But a great race nonetheless. I wish we could get more of these non-wing sprint cars to come here weekly, but I get it. Wednesday night, and it's a big track, but I figured a lot of those non-wing guys, I mean, I don't know about you, a lot of them seem to kind of like those half-mile tracks, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of drivers do. And to me, Oski doesn't really race like a true half. It does when you get to the fence, but when you're halfway up the racetrack, it's kind of feels like a 3/8. It feels small,
really?
Compared to a lot of the racetracks I've raced across the U.S. And but it's still, once again, it's still very racy, and it always puts on great racing there.
Yeah, so AJ picking up another win, and the dirt and asphalt sport compacts. Brandon Pickney picked up his first win, and I believe it was 3 years. So really awesome. He had to battle it out with previous race winner Nathan Moody. So the sport compact class has been really tough. We've seen a different winner every week. No one has won multiple times in a row yet this year. And finally, we're starting to see some break up in the mid-state machine stock car class. Caden Carter driving the 1X car for Michael Peterson, getting it done. Some really great stock cars this week. It was an added money night, so we had a lot of great stock cars. You had Caden Carter, you had Dustin Griffiths, who won the last 2 weeks. Nathan Woods got his car out. Derek Agee made the drive up here from Missouri.
Sweet.
And he had a brand new Terminator car. Only had one night on it that he had run. And then we had the new unveil of the Vanderbilt shop car that Zach Vanderbeek was driving. And he looked really impressive. He had to start in 6th, which is actually pretty far back in the stock car class.
It is.
And he made a run all the way up to 3rd. And if he would have had either a yellow or one more lap, he would have at least got 2nd. I think he probably could have won the race. If they would have had a yellow, I think he would have won. His car was on the rails, only one keeping it on all 4s. Looked really good in the corners. And these new Vanderbilt stock cars, I think, are going to be the new Harris, in my opinion. I think Terminator should probably watch out because those Vanderbilt cars are awful fast. I don't know what's in store there, but Yeah, I don't know how. Have you ever raced a stock car?
I haven't, but if I had the opportunity, it would be awesome to.
Oh,
to
there
see
we
what I
go.
can do.
If anyone has a stock car, you got a wheelman right here.
It'd be awesome. It'd definitely be different from what I'm used to. But
But having fenders.
yeah, that for sure. But that'd be definitely different. That's definitely a challenge I would definitely take on. Even a modified late model, all of them.
Actually, I'd like to see you in a hobby stock.
I'll take it on.
Anyone got a hobby stock or a stock car? Go ahead and Facebook message me or Jonathan Hughes after this. I think we have found a driver for anyone. One guy that does need a driver, though, in his hobby stock is Dustin Griffiths, 3P in the hobby stock division at the Southern Iowa Speedway. And the hobby stock, again, the second toughest class at the track next to the stock cars. And, yeah, Dustin getting it done 3 weeks in a row now. And he had Eric Stanton coming back down here. And Eric is one of the most well-known hobby stock drivers in Iowa. And, Curtis and I have said this multiple times. It always gets brought up. The cars that race at the Southern Iowa Speedway on Wednesday nights, you take the top 5 cars and you take them anywhere in the state of Iowa, and they are bound to win.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And this guy has ran here most of his life. He's from here. He picked up a win in the Sport Mod division this last week. But he's one of those guys that travels a lot. Bray Carter, so Caden's younger brother, picked up the win in the Oskaloosa Quality Rental Sport Mod class. And, I mean, his grandpa Jimmy, his dad BJ, I mean, that's always been a big racing family around here. So, yeah, it's just crazy to see all these drivers come out of here and go and be successful. And your Uncle Mike was the same way. I mean, he was one of those guys, he'd travel, win wherever,
Whenever he could.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really cool, when I was racing, it was Mike's last year of racing. And, just the whole, I felt, vibe of a lot of tracks was different after he retired from it, because all of a sudden you don't see any of the white and pink cars showing up into the pits, and you kind of are like, what's going on? I mean, he was a force to be reckoned with every week, and it was so cool. And probably for you too, watching him run and now you racing, I mean, that's got to be so cool.
It's kind of cool to sit back and you look at that, and then you're kind of in the same footsteps and stuff at the same racetrack. To have that much success at one racetrack and stuff is kind of phenomenal.
Well, then you had that success there too, though. Yep. So that had to be pretty cool from your point of view, seeing something like that,
Yep. It was for sure. It was, at first, it was just that we're here racing. We'll hit other racetracks to see if we're going to be the same way. And obviously, Oskies had my driving style and stuff. And obviously, the results do show on that. But we were from when we were doing that in 2019 through 2020, we were very successful everywhere else. We didn't finish out of the top 10 anywhere we went. And we just had our couple mishaps, Knoxville getting upside down and stuff. But when we would actually run, it was nothing outside top 10.
Have we thought about coming back to Oski at all?
That will be
loaded question.
Yeah,
question.
That's a question for my car owner, my dad. So I don't really make the calls where they go. The cars go. If it was me, I would. And honestly, I'd probably show back up for my grandpa when he gets inducted. I believe, what is that, June 19th? I believe is induction night.
Man, now you're putting me on the spot. I think you're wrong. Yeah.
But
no.
I feel like
you're a week off. It's the 15th or the 16th, because the 21st is the late model show.
Okay, yep. And we thought about that, but we're not sure because we have other accommodations we got to go to with the World Outlaws with their big race up at Huset's. We want to go and experience that. That's one racetrack I've actually never been to. And so I want to go, obviously, biggest race of the year there, might as well just hit it. So
running a wing car, what's your favorite track that you've been to?
My favorite one was last year at Tri-State Speedway in Oklahoma.
Really?
That was my last race last year I run. It was the end of October, and we went down there. They had a big special down there, and honestly didn't know anything about it. My buddy that works for Aaron Reitzel actually told me about it. And so he's like, yeah, you should just come down and come race and just get seat time. And we went down there and we had a blast. That racetrack is phenomenal. Obviously got the red dirt. The curb was against the fence. It was Mach 1. It was like hitting a concrete wall. It was great racing. That's probably one of the best racetracks I've been on out of state. In the state of Iowa, Donaldson. I like Donaldson a lot. Even, like I say, it's a hobby stock racetrack. I like it a lot. I raced non-wing there, very successful there. When we did run there, I like that a lot.
Well, and you'll be running there Friday night.
Yep.
So, and that is one track you could all go to Friday night and see Jonathan run is at Lee County. Donaldson Power Eye show there.
Yep.
I think they start at
6:30.
6:45. Oh, 6:30.
Yep.
Also Friday night, you could go over to Marshalltown Speedway, another good racetrack if you want to go watch stock cars, modifieds, mini mods, sport compacts, and I feel like I'm forgetting stock cars.
I'm going to say, I believe tomorrow night Stewart runs.
Yes.
So with
Stewart
the same
runs
classes.
tomorrow night. If you want to go up there to Stewart, Southern Iowa Speedway runs tomorrow night as well. We have our Lathrop and Sons first responder night. So if you are a first responder, we want to thank you, and you get into the races for free. So all first responders, we hope to see you all out there tomorrow night. Also Friday night, you could go to Columbus Junction Speedway, one of my personal favorite tracks to go watch at down in the CJ Speedway. They do just a fantastic job at that facility. Saturday night, Knoxville Raceway. You could go over there and watch, or you could go up to Boone, watch modifieds, hobby stocks, stock cars, sport compacts, and hobby stocks. So a lot of great races here this week. For your touring tours, you can either watch the World Outlaws. You can watch them on Dirt Vision. If you want to watch, if you actually want to watch Marshalltown or the High Limits, or if you want to watch Ricky Thornton dominating the Lucas Oil late model series like he has been, which is absolutely ridiculous, you can go watch all those on Flow Racing. And I also believe Donaldson's going to be live on Dunright TV.
Correct.
Yes. So there you go. A lot of good racing, a lot of good places to watch it. Jonathan, thank you for staying and helping me get through results, because sometimes I have a tough time with that, so I appreciate having a helping hand here tonight. I know you signed up for way more than what you thought you were getting yourself into, but
I had fun.
I did too. This was a blast, and we didn't have Neil heckling us too bad tonight, making us laugh over here, so we appreciate that. So again, all you race fans, make sure you get out to your local dirt track this week and go and watch. So we want to thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of TNT, the Tuesday Night Tune-Up. Steve, take us away.
TNT. Hey, one thing I do want to tell you, Safe, that racing is canceled for tomorrow night.
Hey, there we go. That's
at the Southern Iowa Speedway. That was just announced during the show here about 20 minutes ago.
would have been nice if Neil could have slipped it on the side and let me know that, but
so racing at the Southern, as we are looking at it on the screen right now, racing is canceled for tomorrow night.
All right, so don't go to the Southern Iowa Speedway tomorrow night.
You can if you want. Just
you could, and
Bring your boat.
Bring your boat. Bring your own popcorn, because they will not be making any.
So no.
Actually,
racing
don't do that. Don't go
night.
with your boat.
All right, let's take a look at some of our sponsors. That includes James Family Greenhouse in Sigourney. We thank them for coming on board as our latest sponsor. We thank Christy Tarr at American Family Insurance, Team Tarr at amfam.com. We thank Zeb at Sigourney Tree Care, as well as CJ at Sigourney Motors. Thank the Pitch family at Sigourney Body Shop, Van Donsler Automotive, Sinclair Napa, and also Chris at Milo's Tree Service. So those are our sponsors that make things possible. Once again, let's bring that graphic up. Racing at the Southern Iowa Speedway for tomorrow night has been canceled. And before we get out of here, we do have to replay our favorite moment.
No!
Our favorite. We're going to turn Safe's mics off so he can't interfere here. But we're going to play our favorite moment from last week's show. This is Safe.
Tired, he hasn't. So we're really looking forward to seeing Kitty, hopefully up here at some point. We gotta take a quick break. Yeah, man. I tell you what, this is horrible. We got Steve over here laughing. We got Neil over here laughing. We're having tons of different issues with connection and all stuff going on, but we're still managing to do this somehow. I don't know how, honestly.
So that was last week's show here on TNT. Safe, do you have anything to say before we get out of here? All right. Well,
I want to thank my mom. I want to thank Neil. I want to thank Smoky Row and all of our sponsors for making that possible. So there you go.
We thank Jonathan Hughes for hanging out tonight, and we'll be back here live at Smoky Row next Tuesday for another exciting rendition of Tuesday Night Tune-Up TNT. Woo! Dynamite right here on Steve Shetler Media.